Okay, we're live on Facebook.
Seems like we are live now, Vic.
Yeah, we're live.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone. And first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our guest today, Amie, who is going to share her life experiences with us today, real life experiences going to share with us. But before I begin, I wanted to see this. This is a podcast series that we started last year about real connections. What is real connections is all about normal human connections that we have to do from time to time, and we connect and we disconnect and we reconnect. So real connections is nothing major, but it's just like how you connect with people and how they connect with you. So we are bringing you once again and continuing that series of real connections that we had done in the last year and now continuing in the new year. We are going to have a journey shared by a person today who is an independent, became independent at quite a young age. And this is going to be a very good connections for those youth, young people, and now wanting to live their journey on their terms. And how can they do it rather than depending? So we are going to share this story from Amie, who is going to give us her insights. So without further delaying, we are just getting into this show called Real Connections with real humans and real experiences. This is not written by anyone, but it is a script that has been really lived by the person herself today. So we are going to give back to our beautiful host once again, Vic, who is going to give us more about and talk to us more about Amie's journey and interaction. So audience, please feel free to comment, or if you want to have a feedback or want to ask a few questions, and they are more than welcome to do it. But I will now take over this opportunity, go to Vic. Vic, over to you to introduce our beautiful guest today.
Thank you. Thank you, Shailesh. And I'm very excited to welcome Amie with us tonight. So Amie is a single mum, a very busy single mum, may I add, of two beautiful children. She runs a very successful salon and has been in business for over 15 years now. The last few years, Amie has found herself on her own personal self-development journey, seeking out knowledge on how to live to her highest potentials. So I welcome Amie, and I'm very excited to talk to Amie just about how her journey is going for her and what she can shed light on with us this evening.
Excellent. Hi. Yeah. Is it me chatting now?
Yeah, Amie. So where would you?
It's over to you now.
Thank you. I'm brand new at this, so everyone on the live will have to be a little bit, work with me on this one. So it's my very first time being interviewed. So thank you, Shailesh, and thank you, Beck, for having me. Where would you like me to share from, Beck?
Where would you like to start? Like, I know that you've got two beautiful children. Where did your journey start with, with your business and the salon? Like, it's, I heard so much about it. It's such a successful business for you, and, your journey through business. Maybe let's start there if you like.
Yeah, sure. So I started very young. I got my first salon when I was 19 years old. So my parents have sort of always worked for themselves as well. So it was kind of like a natural progression for me to get my own business. So from very young, I started trying to earn money from, I guess as a kid, we used to start selling things like pine cones and horse poo or whatever we could sort of do to create our own little businesses out the front of our house. And then to get money when I was about 11, I'd go busking and singing at the markets. And I'd come home and Dad was pretty impressed. Sometimes I'd even earn more than him, which was fun. And then when I turned about 13, that's pretty cool. And then when I was about 13, I started working as a hairdresser and at McDonald's at the same time, just like getting different skills. So I got great people skills from working in the fast food industry, and then going and working in a salon. It was great because it was kind of around mentors. Like the women I worked with helped me become the woman that I could become. Yeah. So then from there, I did my apprenticeship and then got my own business and learnt all the ways not to do business. as you are at 19, you're like pretty
yeah.
keen and eager and feel like you know everything. And actually I discovered I knew nothing. So that was pretty cool. So I think, yeah, that was my first journey into having a business. And it was scary, and I guess I wasn't scared at the time because I hadn't had any life experience to knock me down yet. And so for me, it was actually much easier getting a business at 19 than it would be now in my 30s, because I was completely walking into it blind.
Yeah. And the mentors you said, you know, did you, I guess, were they the ones that you followed to learn to do business, or that sort of you got the business lessons wrong?
Really? So yes and no. So learning how to run a business, I had a beautiful boss, Aileen, when I was young. She was gorgeous. She was like another mum to me and took me under her wing. And she ran a really great business. So for me, she almost showed me how to grow up. And her daughters worked there. So it was my family away from my family, because I was only about 17 when I moved out. So I moved out and started working there, and they almost took me in as a daughter and really showed me the ropes, which helped me. And I got to learn really closely how to run a business. Plus, my dad was great. Like, he has had his own businesses. So I guess from a very young age, I used to go to work with him too. I sort of learnt skills there, but I guess you never really know how to run a business till you actually jump in and do it yourself.
For sure, yeah.
I hadn't really done a course or anything. I just jumped in. I didn't even know what tax or GST was for about the first year in business. It took me a while to actually work it out, until an accountant sat down with me and was like, do you understand GST and tax? I'm like, I just paid my tax. What's this other thing? And so I guess I had to just learn as I went what everything was. Yeah. So I wouldn't change a thing though, because I could have done a course, but it was much better to actually jump in head first to me and learn the mistakes as I went. And I made lots of mistakes, but they turned into the best lessons, because once feeling it and doing it, that really showed me what not to do and what to do.
Definitely. And that in itself is a really strong personal trait to have, because, you know, I think you know, a lot of us, we hit those mistakes, and we, you know, those hurdles and the speed bumps along the way. And, you know, at times you could probably just turn around and go, oh, this is too hard. But to make those mistakes and to take those lessons under your belt as, you know, a life skill, it's a really good trait to have.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that it's definitely served its purpose throughout things, because, you know, when you start a business, you kind of go into this place of like, I actually felt like I was like Donald Trump when I first got my first business. I'm like, I'm a boss. I got a business. It took a while for me to like come down a couple of notches and realize, cool, I've actually just bought myself a job, essentially. Like, getting a small business, you aren't like this big, huge business person. You're actually, oh shit, you've got to pay the bills. You've got to get everything working. It's very like it teaches you, I guess it teaches you great skills about how life and business are all connected. You know, there's not a 9 to 5 when you're a business owner. It's all part of the same thing. And so you learn that you've really got to love what you do. Otherwise, it's not fun either. And so you learn to sort of connect everything, that your life and your business all become connected. So for me, I guess, I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like I work, but it's also all connected in one.
And then for, I guess, how your life progressed with being a young business owner, what were the next stages for you?
So I had my first business. I then got married really young at 19 and I had that business, and then I had a baby at 21. So I was trying to run a business and have a baby. And look, it wasn't the best dynamic. I did it. I then sold that business. I probably won't do a business again, but then I wound up in another business again, which I kind of had some unfinished business because I didn't get everything that I wanted to create out of the first business. So my second business, I picked up where I left and went in a different area, got a bigger salon, took on a lot more staff, and learned another 1,000 ways not to do business. And like, there was a lot of things that I had to learn out of that business that I couldn't have gotten out of the first one. And it was really, really good. I learned how to not manage people, and then eventually how to manage people successfully. And I think I learned how expensive some bricks and mortar businesses could be. It made me look down different paths. I had some business losses, which were great because they taught me different ways to to do business and to not do business.
Yeah.
And then I created a hair salon on wheels that I thought would be the fixture to not having a bricks and mortar business. So the bricks and mortar business was really quite costly. I found it hard to actually make ends meet because the overheads were so high by the time I paid rent and paid for staff. So I was like, what could I do as a fixture to that? So I made this hair salon on wheels, and I thought that that would be a great concept to then take us out of the salon that I was stuck in and actually chuck my business on its wheels and take it around.
Yeah.
Took it on the show Shark Tank, but it was very early days. And I think that it was awesome. It was a great experience to try something different and to try something new. And it is something I plan to actually take off again in this year and take further with a few of the skills I learnt. But I think that, that was my next sort of business venture of an idea to grow more than just having a fixed business in one place.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely, like opportunities there for that, salon on wheels. It's like my brain's just going wild, thinking we could do this.
Very much entrepreneurial.
Definitely a great concept for you. Yeah. We'll have to keep me posted with how you go with that one.
I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop when I'm ready to launch that.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to go back a little bit, Amie. What was your going through your mind when you always wanted to become a businesswoman, or always wanted to get into business, or you just thought that you learned the skills as you were too young to do it, and at a young age, 19, you're having a business and jumping into it, all sorts, without any kind of experience or knowledge. But there must be some positive that's going on in your head, or someone has tempted you or made you, motivated you. Was there anything like that for you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I guess I haven't been asked that one before. That's a fantastic question. So for me, I had that amazing boss, and then I left that company because I felt like I needed to test the waters more. So I went to another company and they were dreadful. And I learnt how not to treat people from that one experience. And it left me then going and working for another company that, I don't know, it just wasn't a great experience. So I thought to myself, I really want to run my own business. And I worked from home at the time and I was making a lot of money. And I thought, I want to take this into a shop front and I really want to have a crack at doing it. So I think I went there, and my beautiful dad supported me so much. He was like, yeah, you can do this. Mum was terrified, but she was like, oh, I'm not sure. But dad was like, yeah, you got this. So he actually helped me fund it and support me to go down that path. And it was, I think that was when I decided I wanted to be a boss and have a go at it. I actually had no idea what I was doing. I was so young. I just wanted to have a crack. But I knew that I had enough fire in my belly to have a crack at it and go, you know what, I reckon Dad just said to me, if you work really hard, you can do this. And that was enough for me to believe in myself. So.
And
but
when
I think
you're young,
like half of the time we just need that one person to just be like, if you actually give it a crack, and if you actually put your whole heart, soul into it, you can get it off the ground.
I was about to say that, Beck. Thank you for helping me. That same resonation, I thought. And when you are young, you do take, like an innocent, you take a lot of risk and you do a lot of things. And that's where you actually find yourself as well, that you make mistakes, but then you learn and you don't give up. That's the more important. So I think that's good. Yeah. So coming to my next answer question for you is, your journey started at a very young age. You took risk at very young age, getting into relationship, getting into marriage, getting into kids, and a very young age, and then business running. So did you anytime felt that, okay, what happens if it doesn't work? Should I give up or should I just sit home? Did you felt like that as a factor of motivational? Because so much things were happening in your life at that point. Probably one would have demotivated or motivated. And as Beck said, that if you don't have one person's support, then that's fine. But then you have got multiple things going on at that point.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I did find was sometimes you'd be winning at some areas and not winning at others. It was the juggle of finding the natural, natural flow for each area. So there was times when I thought I was a shitty mum, but a great business owner. There was times that I thought I was a good mum, but not a great not a great business owner. It was finding that natural rhythm between the two. And there was times when you get really low. I'm not someone to share those times usually, but you do. But I guess you just got to pick yourself up and you've just got to keep going. There's no option to quit, because I think that's one thing business teaches you. When you sign up and you sign a lease, you can't quit. You've made a commitment. When you sign up and you push that child out, you can't quit. You've made that commitment to that child. If you get married, you make that commitment as well. Like there's things that in that can change, but when I make a commitment, you have to make the commitment and you have to be your word. And I think that's something that, I don't know, maybe it's naturally just in me, but I do believe that we just never give up. And it's been my winning factor, is to just never give up. And sometimes it looks like I'm not going to get through whatever it is I go through, but if I just keep going, I always get a good outcome.
And that's the thing, I think it's like you've just got to take, sometimes it's one day at a time, like when you are down and when you just can't see through the fog, it's just one day at a time, like keep going, keep showing up, keep being present in all areas of your life, and then eventually you'll be able to pull through.
Absolutely. And I get help from so I did remember when I was 19 and got this business, I was like, oh, I'm so lost. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I just felt like I needed some more motivation. So I started going to all these different seminars and thinking, how is everyone else doing this? And I used leverage. I leveraged off their knowledge to help me get to that next level. Because I was 19 and people would walk into the salon, they'd be like, where's the owner? I'm like, oh, it's me. But I just, I had to, then they'd be like, oh, really? Like, how old are you? I'm like, old enough to own a business. So I went and I listened to people, and I listened to people that had a real experience. So I listened to people like Richard Branson and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and actually went and watched them speak, and something magic happened. I started to think, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it too. And most of the people that have been successful haven't had an easy start, haven't known what they were doing, but just kept going and kept being focused at what it was that they wanted to achieve. And I think that gave me the motivation to keep going. And every day, if I'm feeling a bit down, I've had lots of stuff happen in my life lately that has really, really been tough to get through. But I get on that YouTube and I'll watch a YouTube video to get me going. I'll go out and I'll do that run. Even if I don't want to, I'll just do it anyway, because it's what, action is what will keep me going. Action is in the healing. You keep going and keep searching for what it is, and it'll eventually get me to that outcome.
So moving forward with, your successful businesses and marriage and everything, we mentioned that you are now a single mom. So you have, as successful as, early business days were and everything, you have had some tough adversities, in your life lately. And are you able to shine light on that a little bit more for us, to how you're still going? I know you said you just can't give up, but, were there any other tips that you can, share with us to, to show that you're still here?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's funny. Sometimes you get to a point that you think, yeah, I've got all my life together. I'm bossing it. And then things happen. So obviously, one thing I always had was my marriage. And I thought that was my thing, that was my strength and my rock. And that broke apart about 18 months ago. My husband and I separated. It wasn't on the best terms. And it really it was another level of, I really can't hide behind my marriage or anything anymore now. And I think for me, I'm now still on that journey of discovering who I am and how to keep going, because it really broke me, but it woke me in a really good way. It made me and it's every day making me face myself and making me find out who I am as a woman, who I am as a mother, who I am as a business person. Because as much as there can be the word successful, define success, because I've lost a lot of money having businesses, yet the success hasn't come from a financial outcome. It's come from a growth in self, really, which is where it is. And with the marriage breaking down, at the start, I was really sad that I would let everybody down. A lot of people looked up to us. On paper, we had this perfect marriage. I've actually later discovered that it probably wasn't as perfect as I'd let on. And I'd like to really get really honest with that later on down the track and discover what I was hiding, and really be the voice for women who maybe are in a marriage and they feel alone, or things aren't quite right. I think there's things for me to discover yet that I'm still, even today I was in therapy at lunchtime learning about that, on a journey of who I am, because you've forever got to be learning who you are and how you can I guess, get to that core of, sharing more authentically. And yeah, with that one, I've got a lot to discover still, but it was hard, and it was really hard on my children and really hard on my business. My clients had to be super patient because sometimes I couldn't keep it together. I really tried to, and I tried to think I'll just keep being positive, but some days you just have to let yourself feel and let yourself be, and let the emotions come up, and then the next day you pick yourself back up and you start to rebuild. And literally, I've gone from living in $1 million house to having everything that you could ever want on paper to living in a tiny townhouse now. And I'm probably the most happiest and freest I've ever been. And I've really learned out of that lesson that things don't make you happy. Things, objects, that does not make you happy. What makes me happy is real connections with my children, connections with my beautiful friends and family, and experiences in life. That's the real things that matter, because you can't take any of the other stuff to the grave with you. Yeah, it's great to have it, but that's not what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
I very much resonate with that concept that you have uncovered, which is awesome, because I guess that's what people make a lot of, when they don't discover themselves, they are just looking at others and thinking that that is the happiness, that is the success, what they are having is success, what they are having is happiness. But actually, it's inside you. You don't have to find the happiness outside. So I completely agree. Yeah, awesome. Go ahead, Beck.
Thank you for being raw with us just then, Amie. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I guess audience who are listening, particularly when you see all these up and downs and going from top to bottom or whatever you call it, but there is no such thing as top to bottom when you look at inside you. That's always going to be the happiness that you are looking for is very in simple things, in simple connections, as you said rightly. And this is about connections or real connections. You don't want the label connections or on paper. There may be on paper a lot of wealth attached to you, but is that gives you happiness? So that's a question everybody needs to ask themselves, basically. So good, very good. Yeah, what else?
What else, Beck? What are we thinking?
I am actually very excited to watch your journey. That's what I was thinking then. I feel just in, feeling with the words that you were sharing just then,
I know.
The energy that you hold is really positive, and I see like a really beautiful future for you, and just like a really nice journey for you to ride on. And I'll be honest with you, Raw, like at times it's probably not going to be very nice, but I think, once you get to a stage, I think you're going to have a lot that you'll be able to share and pass on through your own experiences. Just, from chatting with you now and the insight you have already to then what you'll be able to share with us later on. I think, I'm definitely going to be watching your space and, definitely going to be putting my hand up for the lessons that you've learned.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that.
I think for me, it's like talking to you, and at a young age, what you achieved. Many people generally in that age, they try to enjoy life in a different way, which they think it's a normal way. Whereas I reflect back now with your stories that you were not normal in eyes of other people, I would say. So they saw you as abnormal, that, okay, just like when you said that, oh, who is the boss? And you said, oh, I am the boss here. But they didn't know that you could be the boss. They didn't know that much young you are, that much raw you are. But that's what at that age, most of the kids or at that age, people enjoy more rather than, and I think you went along not thinking what the future is or what the business is going to do it for. You just did it because your core value was telling you to do it, or your sense of mind, body was telling you to do it, and you just went along, basically. I would say that at this point, what I feel. And that's a learning lesson for many youngsters who are watching or who are listening to this, that, yeah, it can be done. There is no such thing. You can live your dream, whatever you want. Mistakes will happen, but 99% people don't want to get in because they think they will do mistakes at that age, and then they will get blamed for it by their own people or by their surroundings or their friends. So they don't get into it normally, and they wait for that golden opportunity, which never generally comes, which comes only whenever it comes. So, but you grabbed that opportunity, I would say. So you went along by going against the norm, which I feel quite motivated for myself, actually. It's awesome. Yeah, I think all the listeners who are listening, youngsters, would definitely take something out of this conversation that we are having today with you. So your journey is real as it is fascinating. But most important thing, I feel that you had not just on the personal level or on the business level or on the environmental level, friends, and the choosing of business that you chose becoming a hair salon. So was that your normal liking from childhood, or you wanted to do lots of other jobs and stuff?
I think with hairdressing, I wonder if it's actually in my blood, because my great grandfather used to have a salon, like when there was no one around, and he used to actually put my mum in the window as like a little bit of he'd perm her hair and pop her in the window. So he was the hairdresser, and then my mum was actually a hairdresser. So it was a natural progression to go into something. And mum actually lined up my first hairdressing job because I think it started like I wasn't terribly good at school. I just socialized all the time. And mum was like, you know what, clearly she just likes to talk all the time. Maybe you should do hairdressing. And so I just started in that particular career. And I always wanted to do and be a something. I wanted a title of a something. And that kind of hairdressing was, I guess, the natural thing to go into. And it's so much more than hairdressing. Like the hairdresser that I am, I'm really connected with all my clients. So if you sit in my chair, we're not going to have cordial chats about the weather. I'm going to talk about you and your life, and we're going to share our experiences. And I really love my clients, and I really love for them to be happy. So I don't want you to leave my salon unless you're happy. And so for me, we create these beautiful bonds. And I've watched my kids go from being in primary school to high school to university to now having jobs, and I still do their hair. And I love being on their journey, and they come on the journey with me too. And we both share authentically. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful connection. I feel super, super blessed to be a part of all these extra people's lives. So I guess, yeah, that was the career that just I naturally slipped into, and it just felt right.
So what would be your message to those people who don't go naturally? It came to you. You never felt that this is, but you still did. As you said before, I heard you, actions are more important. So you took actions. You didn't just put it on the paper. You take. So what would be your message to the listeners who are listening now? The key message, or the positive key message that you would like to give.
For sure. I think we only get one life, and I'm a massive believer of that. And I think if there's something you'll have a little burn inside of you, or if there's something you've dreamt of doing, do it. Just have a crack. Because there's no such thing as failing. Even if you fail per se, you still learn something. There's a gift in everything. And if we really put all my business experience down, it'll probably look like a big fat failure to some people. But to me, it's what's created me and made me stronger. And I think that if you've got a burning desire to do something, it doesn't matter what age you are. There's kids that are like 10 years old that are making so many hundreds of millions of dollars on the internet, like young kids that can create something. And I think we're in the time now that you actually can create something from a child, from a teenager, from any age. It can be 10 to 80, really, if you want to create something, but it's just give it a go. Because even if you're 50 and you're sitting there, what are you going to do? You're only going to die one day. So have a crack at it. You just might find
Love that.
So I definitely think
exactly it. Yeah.
That would be
so looking back, what's your message to your own kids who are now coming into teens, and then what would be your kind of guidance to them?
I think my guidance to them would be, it would be a little bit different. I would actually say to them as well, have a crack at everything, but also give yourself the chance to not grow up so quick. Like I did grow up quite quick, and it was great, but I would also like them to have fun being, like have fun being young and being free as well, but also to believe in themselves. Like I teach both my kids each day to believe in themselves. And if they want to have a crack at something, have a crack at it. You've got nothing to lose. You know, if my son wants to do ballet or if he wants to do boxing, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Do what makes your heart sing. And I think don't do what you think is the thing that everyone expects you to do. Do what you want to do, because that's what will get them out of bed every day. So I just want them to live their truest versions of whatever that is, whether that's creating their own business, working at Woolies. I really don't mind what they do, so long as whatever they do, they love it. They don't do it because they have to do it. They do it because they want to do it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Awesome. And finally, I wanted to also ask you a couple more, but just one thing that comes to my mind is when you see at this point of your journey where you are now, and as Beck asked you before and mentioned you, like, what was it like to you when your relationship broke down and things like that? What I want to know is now where you are at, what are the positives that what keeps you going? What are the positives that you have realized and it just keeps you going? What would be those things that you feel?
Okay, that's a good one. So when my marriage broke down, it was a shock to me. And it was a real shock to, I don't know if you call it, like, it was just a shock to my soul and maybe my ego as well, a bit of everything. It was a shock. And I guess I felt really scared and really alone. But the good thing that I've gotten out of that is I've actually discovered that I'm really free. And I now can do whatever I want to do. I went from being a child, living with my parents, to then living with a husband, that I never actually got to meet Amie. So now is the first chance that I get to meet me and discover what I like doing. And I now have to share my children, which is something that always terrified me. It really did. I love them more than anything on the planet and want to be with them every minute of my waking time. But now when my children go and they bond with their dad and spend that time with him, I'm going and I'm discovering who I am. You know, last weekend I was out doing many fun things. I actually got a tattoo on my bum, which was really fun. And jumping in waves and doing really fun things, because I'm learning that it doesn't matter what age you are. You've got to go and you've got to have fun in life and do different things. So I think, yes, it wasn't planned. And yes, it did break my heart and it did change my entire life. But it did look like a real problem and a real horrible thing at the time, but it's actually a present. Sometimes things can look really terrible, but they can actually end up being a gift. So I think it'll be a really beautiful gift that I was given. I got to experience married life and experience what that was like. And I would love to find someone later on down the track to do that again with. But for now, I want to find me and I guess marry myself for a little while and be really authentic with who I am and what I want to do with life.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
the thing. I think, you know, like the most important thing for me to life is commitment to myself, you know, like to be able to commit to your own goals and commit to your own morals and purpose and you know what lights you up inside. Because I think when that starts to fade, I think everything around us starts to fade. So that commitment to self is so important to then, you know, like experience life from your own perspective rather than from, you know, being in a marriage or, you know, in business.
That's so true.
Yeah. So you are in a profession where you get a lot of people to interact and connections can be created, and you got how do you take yourself when people judge or people ask or people, you know, have got different ways and opinion, but then they look at other side of you who has been still going strong, and people might be envy or jealous or all sorts of things can happen. How do you carry yourself in this positive approach? Because there could be negatives around you, but then you have to move that to make it positives. What would be your take on those positives? How do you deal with this?
I think the last 18 months particularly, I was like put under a microscope. So marriage breakdown, it's like everyone's like, what did she do wrong? What was questioned? And I think everything came up about me that I started to sort of give up on myself and was like, maybe I have no idea who I am. But I think what I did learn out of all of that is naturally as human beings, we all judge one another. It's just something
Exactly.
how we're wired. And I've got to not take things so personal. I need to learn how to love me and how to not give up on me. And I think everybody needs to learn how to love themselves too. And I think we'd be a lot kinder to one another then. And so if somebody's judging me, it's usually because they're judging themselves as well. So I try to not take it so hard. And I try to teach my kids that as well, that if someone's being mean to you, chances are something's going on in their world and they're not feeling happy. And it hasn't got a lot to do with me or a lot to do with them. It's the other person. So trying to take it back. And if there is some criticism that's thrown my way, there might be a bit of truth in it. I chuck myself through an assessment thing. And if there's something I need to work on, I'll go and work on that to better myself. But I try to not let it consume me, because at the end of the day, we're on this journey of life to learn. And if there's something in it, I'll learn it. And if there's nothing in it, then I'll just let it slip by. And, you know, I've learned that you can't make everybody happy. That's the biggest lesson, but you have to make yourself happy. And then everything else around you becomes happy.
Beautiful. Very well
Lovely.
said.
Couldn't have said it any better. Could not have said it any better.
We could not have heard anything better than that. I'm
it's
really
great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think what you have shared with us is not just sharing your own journey, but actually it has a lot of things that has come out of it. One thing is you had to take actions. Second thing is you had to be positive in your whatever happenings happen. Then just what you said, words are just words if you don't make it actions. And so that's the key for anything and everything that we as humans do. And we do judge humans to human. And that's, we are wired, as you said rightly. But this is where, if you have discovered that, then you will not fall into that trap. But if you have not discovered yourself, then you will always fall into that trap. And I think this, the key message, I can take it from here for myself as well, that I can resonate easily, which is awesome. And other thing, what you said is like, you know, jumping into business, there is no age, there is no youth or time for any getting into business. You can definitely get into business at any age. That's what I can hear from you. And if you can do it, just like others who are listening, they might think, okay, I can also do it. I can also give a crack, or give a, as you said, you just have to keep going and trying and exploring. And we are all here to explore rather than judge or measure. That's what I take it from here. So now, beautifully, very well put, these connections that you have created with yourself now at a stage where you can share your wisdom, really speaking. It's probably like more spiritually self-realized, Becca.
Definitely. It caught me at a wrong time. No, definitely. I couldn't have put it any better. I think, you know, Amie, you've shared with us some beautiful insight into how you've planned, or how your life's planned out for you, I should say, and just how your outlook as with the adversities that you've had and moving forward. And as I said, I do look forward to watching your journey as you continue to move forward and learn more about yourself and what lights your spark to keep going and growing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you another final message that you would like to give, particularly in the current scenario of what we are uncertainty, which is the COVID. And then on top of it, you had this experience that was not really pleasant, but then you moved on. You didn't said that, okay, I give up, or I just now just accept whatever it is. In fact, you just continued what your dreams were and what you are doing and what you are trying to do. So you mentioned coming from, so I was fascinated, like, okay, you know, people change when they are living in a bigger house and then they go into a smaller house. Their attitude, their mindset, everything gets demoralized or, you know, depressed or stressed. All sorts of things happen. But I think you have come across, you have risen above everything, which is, you were not looking for wealth, you were not looking for a bigger house or things like that. You were looking for happiness and peace. And you found your happiness and peace yourself rather than somebody else coming and giving you. So I think that's a fascinating for me to understand and uncover your journey. It's really awesome. As Beck said, that we would definitely like to watch your journey in the coming years to come. And I wish you absolutely amazing journey ahead for you. And we would like you to share, invite you once again and share your continuation of manifestation that you are doing currently at the moment and where you want to see yourself. You know, I would rather not ask those silly questions of people asking, oh, where do you want to see now 5 years down there? You don't know 5 minutes down or 5 seconds down now. And that question is just a no-brainer. I don't never agree with that kind of question, but yeah. But living your life on your terms, exploring on your own way, and making it your personal journey and more dependent on yourself rather than others is the key message. I take it as a very positive approach to the life that we have got. And as you rightly said, we got only one life, one opportunity to do everything. And we just have to keep doing that and explore that opportunity. So yeah, with this, I absolutely like to appreciate your coming on this show and connecting with us, particularly. You have made our day as well good, and we probably will share the same journey with others. I'm sure Beck has the last word that she can put it out for me.
No, I'd just like to thank you, Amie, for coming on and sharing your journey with us tonight. I've enjoyed our chat. It's a nice little insight into where you're at and where you know your journey ahead. So I just really appreciate your time and the conversation we've had this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. I really, really appreciate coming on. I guess it gives me just as much joy because you kind of forget sometimes where you're going. So I think with us all sharing, I guess that's, you know, everyone's experience is what lifts each other up. And back to your question about with the COVID and uncertainty, I think the biggest thing that I've learned with that, and I think it doesn't matter what situation we're in, nobody's coming to save us. We need to save ourselves. And I think that would be the last thing I'd leave it with. Like, it doesn't matter what situation you have, whether it's COVID, whether it's anything, take whatever cards you've got and just play them the best that you can. And it doesn't matter what you've got in your hand, whether you've got 1 in your hand or you've got 5 in your hand, play whatever you've got to best that you can. And I think that's the only advice I'd give to anyone, no matter what we face next, because we never know what we're going to face next. But I guess just take what I've got with gratitude and whatever you've got with gratitude and just play it the best you can. So I do really appreciate you both having me on tonight. I feel so blessed and so privileged. So thank you.
So final, what's, you said that COVID uncertainty, and you definitely answered very well. So what's one thing positive that you can think of happened to you in this COVID times? What would you say?
With COVID? I think with COVID, I think in some ways we've all become really uncertain. And I think that it's probably been a great awakening. I felt it to be a really great awakening. And I felt it to be like, it's almost a gift, because I think you can become really asleep and unconscious to what's actually happening around us. And when something like that hits, it's like, oh shit, we all get into the scarcity and frightened and scared. But then when you all realize that nothing's guaranteed. So I think it's shaken us all up in a way, and shaken me up in a way that it goes, okay, cool. What to now? And I guess for me, it's a natural ground of knowing. I've always been kind of comfortable with uncertainty, but it's getting really comfortable with uncertainty and just accepting it really, and just going, okay, cool. What cards am I dealt with? I don't really argue with anything that's up in the air, because okay, what are my cards? I'll play them with whatever I can. So for me, it's been a positive in the way of just, I guess, getting
coming close to yourself, basically. I would say that's one positive. What's another one positive you would like to have in the coming months or days or whatever? What's one thing you would like to see positive coming?
For myself, I think more self-confidence and more self-belief. Because, you know, I think in the core of the core, that's the biggest thing I need to work on, because then I can lead my children to have self-belief, and they can lead their children, and that's how it all sort of works out. So that would be something I'm definitely searching for, and I won't stop till I really get to the core of that.
You know, it's funny that you said very fast, normally people think, what did positive happen? They can't think of any positives because they are always talking about negatives. And I guess you did it very well in answering those two questions of what positive you felt, which came close to yourself, and what positive you would expect is more confidence, more self-realization. Very well said. You made it was awesome. It's very well answered. And I think lots of people who are listening would also get their answers with these two beautiful questions, that self-confidence, coming close to yourself. These are the two ingredients that any human would like at any given point of time to realize as quickly as possible so that they become less dependent. And as you rightly said, that the more you are independent, the more you can live your life, I would say, rather than just, continue dragging your life. Otherwise, it's just a drag. Living is like, that's why they say, there is a saying, the life should not be bigger or longer. The life should be absolutely quality and quantity versus quality when you come in. So life has to be lived, not to be longed for many, many years. It should be lived every single moment. So that's what I will put at it, that don't live your life longer, try to live your life longer, but try to live the life every single moment, like a real life that there is no tomorrow, right? So that's beautiful connections that I have with you, and same as Beck. So we are really appreciating of you to share this beautiful journey and very, very well wisdom that we earned. Listen to you. Thank you so much, Amie.
Oh, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you very much, Amie.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome.